go within 5 seconds. Go.
What do you
Press
mean?
live. We're live. How are you?
Oh,
How are you?
I'm good. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Yep. What do you? We're talking about after. Good morning, Mark. A pop-up came. Welcome to Morning Minutes. Myself, Michael Bergio, Mark Novak. Episode 298. I can't wait for episode 300 just for the sake of it. The morning after Melbourne Cup, the race that stopped the nation. But that wasn't the only thing that happened yesterday, was it, Mark? What else happened?
Winner, chicken dinner. Everyone won yesterday by the Reserve Bank reducing rates by 0.25. And we want to talk about what that means to the real estate industry. We want to talk about what that means to the average punter. Even if you don't do anything, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, and that's a big thing as well. Like, I think the biggest thing when you have rate drops is obviously money is cheaper. That's probably the simplest way to look at it when rates go down. But that's based on if the banks will also pass that on as well. So the banks get money from the Reserve Bank and then they lend out generally a little bit higher to make their profit as well. And a lot of the time when they drop their rate, then the banks will drop it, then we get the money cheaper. So just because the Reserve Bank drop it doesn't necessarily mean we get money in our pocket, but a lot of the time it does. So what will happen? What do you reckon, Mark? Do you reckon the banks will pass it on?
Look, I think there is a responsibility there. I think the government's obviously trying to help our economy along a little bit. They've done that with our budget, and I think they're doing that now. And I think there's an expectation on the Big Four to actually be good citizens and do that as well. The rates that are out there are interesting. G'day, Michael Silich. What happens when rates drop?
No, that's me posting is him. Hang on, there we go.
Is it? I think it's really interesting, guys, because at the moment for commercial properties, and we're talking big debt, as in single individuals and companies with 10, 20, $30 million debt, I've heard of interest rates around the 1.8% real rates. That's what they're paying for owning the asset, 1.81, 1.91%. I know Macquarie Bank for smaller commercial landowners, they're doing 2.19%. Now, that's without these rate drops. I know residential, there's some mid-2.5s if you're doing principal and interest, and I know residential it starts to go up towards high 2s. When you're looking at those real rates, they're already good. Now, is it going to mean, Michael, that is this enough of a cash in the pocket to make people go, well, let's do it? Or is it just enough of like a mind shift to say, oh shit, let's do something?
Yeah, and that's where it comes to, isn't it? The consumer sentiment with rate drops. And I definitely think anyone who was on I believe this impact is big for two reasons. COVID probably is under control in New South Wales at the moment. We're very good. I think we've got very minimal cases. So that holdback plus the rate drop, because I believe they dropped them a few months ago, but it was sort of in COVID and it sort of didn't have the impact you normally would like. But this drop, I definitely believe that's going to have a huge effect with people wanting to buy. Even though someone may look at it and go, well, it only saves $500. One, that's a saving. But two, I think it's going to have that good push forward. And we were talking about it yesterday in the sales meeting, Mark, where we're starting to see investors come back. Investors, like we've been doing a lot of deals, but they were people who were upgrading home, downgrading home, changing, buying and selling. So they were like, oh, I sell for less, I buy for less, it's all good. I can't stress this enough. Investors, they've been gone, in my view, for 6 months. Investors
are definitely back in the market. They're definitely back. And you know what's interesting about that? It was essential purchases that we've seen happen in COVID, Michael.
Yes.
It's essential purchases. Now, an investor purchase is not an essential purchase, but to see them come back in, it's a good sign, a good vote for confidence.
Definitely. And I think that sort of goes on our sort of COVID our COVID topic with that sentiment. And I reckon we're going to be in for a big sort of 3 to 6 months with this. I don't believe we're going to have our normal halt for Christmas, because where are people going to go? Like, a lot of people, I believe a lot more people are going to be home, and they're going to be looking at properties. So I think we're going to have a big end of year. The last 3 months 2 months has been big, and I think it's going to be the biggest Christmas ever.
Well, guys and girls, and I really don't like to say this, but what are you going to do with your money?
Yes.
If you are the fortunate majority, and I stress majority, if you are the fortunate majority who actually hasn't been able to, who your spending has been limited by COVID, i.e., not taking a holiday, what the hell are you going to do with your money? If you may do a bathroom or a kitchen or a pool or whatever in your house, but I think it gets to the point where it's like, I don't need anything at home. I think that's why we're starting to see investors come in. But Michael, with the Reserve Bank reduction that was done through COVID, there was a social responsibility that we all felt that was going to happen. There was an economic responsibility where we thought that was a guaranteed due in. It didn't surprise us. So when you're talking sentiment, which I'm really passionate about, when you're talking sentiment, when I expect it and you give it to me, my sentiment is, do you know what I mean? When I'm like, when everyone's like, look, we're okay, it's all good, and then you get it as a bonus, a triple bonus, then it's like, you're cheering. I think a lot of people were cheering today. Exactly. Cheering.
It was a little bit, it was more than we expected. Like, you hit the nail on the head that everyone was expecting the drop previously, just like they were expecting the stimulus, expecting it to grow. Like, this one was probably, I know Christian Stevens did like a snap poll on his Instagram, and it was like 60%, I think it was 60% said no, 30% said yes, it will drop. So if people are saying no, that means in itself they had confidence. That means 60% of people go, no, we think things are okay, and they're not going to drop it because they dropped it when we needed it. We had to. So I reckon people were like, no, we're good without it. Property's been going well. So to get that bump is huge.
So it's big. Now, something was a bit about timing, Michael. We'll talk about timing. Can we just have, by the way, guys, we are interactive with this. We are talking about the interest rates. We want to know what you guys are thinking. We want to interact with you and talk with you. Let's just go back on some of our guys that are making comments here today. Luke Moroney, buy. Property owners and buyers win. Interest rates and some predictions, interest rates to point -2 or -3. Some predictions coming out. I don't reckon, but we'll definitely see. That was you, Michael. Morning, Anmar, you legend. One of the smartest ladies in property. Luke buys, genius. What about the consumer confidence with money in the bank? You know what? If your money's in the bank, really good point, Luke. If your money's in the bank, how much money you're getting, you may as well go out and buy that. So I think, Michael, that dovetails into what we're saying about investors being back. Savers to take money out of the banks, that's right, and into where maybe property, maybe stocks. And Luke would be a good barometer because he's a buyer's agent, so he'd be seeing there's investors coming back. For me, it's not about COVID; it's about the long-term property market. And at the end of the day, guys, what people have been banking on, what I have learned, the number one lesson I have learned, people are banking on what is it?
Banking on
it's essential.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, essential. I'm just going to I'll check our page to see if anyone's coming through the phone. Now, I'm
telling you, guys, if you want to work out what the hell the economy, the market, jobs, job sectors, or whatever, you guys work out essential. If you work out what's essential at the moment, that will unlock what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, everyone scratched their head about property, but guess what? An investment property was not essential, and owner occupied property was essential. So that's why property did well, because people went, shit, I'm spending time at home. It's essential. I need to do a little upgrade to my house. I need to sell and buy to my house, whatever. Guys and girls, it's about what is essential in the, out there, and that will do well. That will do well.
Definitely. And another point that you mentioned here, Mark, no change to rates till February 21, at least from the Reserve Bank. Like you mentioned, their next meeting is February.
Yep.
So that's just like, as a buyer, what does that tell you? Like because I think if there's a month between, you think to yourself, I've got time. If I wasn't looking, I can go speak to my broker. I can organize my finance. A lot of agents will be working over Christmas. So I can do deals under the security of what I'm looking at today. Because let's face it, if you see the rates drop and you go, I want to plan it, by next month you may think it's going to change and you hold off. Like 3-month window is really big, isn't it, Mark?
It's massive. It's massive. So just to peel that back, guys and girls, the Reserve Bank closes shop. They don't operate through the festive season, probably, nor they should. They should just leave us alone and let us enjoy our families. So they're not going to meet up in December. They're not going to meet up in January. The next meeting is going to be in February. So that means they haven't closed their doors, the RBA. They probably should if they're not making any money. But that means that, you're right, Michael. People have got confidence. People have got comfort that then there's not going to be a hike. Possibly could be a reduction in the future up until that period. Now, what's interesting is, Michael, what is your view and what are you hearing out there on the street with people about rates going up or rates going down in the mid to short to long term future?
Yes, so at the moment there was a great article with AFR which just sort of said the banks haven't announced yet if they're slashing it, but I definitely feel they will pass it on at least half of it. I think the sentiment and the motivation will be there, so I reckon that's going to happen, because I don't know if I think they passed on all the COVID or the last one, but not the one before. They didn't pass it all on. So I believe they're going to pass it.
COVID's a nice word when you ask about, are banks going to pass on the Reserve Bank reduction? In COVID, if you're a bank and you don't pass it on, I think you're a dog.
Yeah, and leading into Christmas, because keep in mind, I think they will pass it on because they're going to give you a discount, but then they know you're probably going to spend it on your credit card for Christmas shopping. So I think they're going to look at it double way. They're going to say, if we pass, and now I think of it, I reckon that's probably the main reason why the RBA did cut it. They cut it, more people spend for Christmas, keeps the small businesses that have been handcuffed.
I agree with that statement. I think if they can encourage people to be confident in their spending, and that means spending in Christmas presents, that means spending in property additions, that means spending in building, that means spending in property, that's blood going through the veins of the economy, and that is a very, very good point. That is a very, very good point. Now, if you're scared about, okay, is this going to be a double-edged sword and are the rates going to go up? First thing I want everyone to look at is the 10-year bond market. The 10-year bond market is always very indicative to what the mortgage market's going to be doing. Now, the 10-year outlook for the bond market is low. The next thing I want everyone to look at is 5-year interest rates and 3-year interest rates. If you're going to bet against the house being the bank, if you're going to bet against the house, you will lose. Happens in a casino, and it happens when you bet against banks. So, when you're looking at these fixed rates that are out there for 5 years, and what's that?
That's the rates. The rate's been going down over the last few years, just as you're saying, just going up and just showing the pattern. check out that.
Yeah, wow. So what's the blue line?
Blue line is change percentage point, change percentage point, and then cash rate target. So
Okay, so I think that's the Reserve Bank.
Cash rate.
That's whenever you see a Reserve Bank change of 0.25 like we just saw, or 0.5 like you can see one of them there. That was in the GFC. That's pretty incredible, and then that's indexed off the rates, the real rates that we've been paying. So guys and girls, look at that. That is beautiful. Look at that. Okay, but Michael, when I see that, and I can understand people looking at that now thinking we're screwed because it's going to go like this very shortly. Again, I'll go back to what we just said. 10-year bonds, I want you to look at that. 5-year interest rates, I want you to look at that. 3-year interest rates, I want you to look at that. And then I think that you can have confidence that we're not going to be hiking when you look at what the big boys are actually prospecting and guessing on. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. And the other angle onto that, Mark, as well. You look at it that way, and then you look at it as another way, which we've said many times on the show, where we need to get the economy going up, instead of raising our taxes to pay off debt, rather grow the economy. We still won't have tourism. We still won't have the immigration. We still won't have a lot of the education, depending how that goes, especially outsourcing. And so we need to grow. I think so they're going to be pumping through real estate. They want to keep it simply, they will inflate it with growth and make it so good and desirable to buy, because they need the money. We need the growth. Buying property means you build. You've already seen it in policies and legislation. They want to fast track DAs. Yep. They can't then increase the interest rates and slow down the economy if they want to build thousands of new units and everything, because it won't work. So exactly what you're saying, the long-term plan, I believe that will piggyback off all the other factors of the economy. And exactly what Luke said, people won't be spending this Christmas. So they need to make it so good that people will spend and they can spend.
Yeah, and you know what? Before we sign out, I do want everyone to have a really big think about this. Our second biggest export in the world, or it's our third biggest export in the world, is education.
Yes.
And I've got to say, since COVID, the last 9 months, education has been scary quiet. Education's been scary quiet. Now, education's going to be doing their intake in December and their intake in January. I'm very keen to look at those numbers because it's very important to our economy. So I think ahead of that curve, that hopefully there'll be some good spending through the economy. But I'm a little bit worried about university intakes.
Yeah, because it's heavily based on immigration and people, mainly China. I know China, how we take a lot. There's a lot of unis basically funded by China.
Yep, and there's a lot off the back of the rental property market. So I would be saying if you are close to a university in Sydney, anywhere in Australia, and I would say if you have an investment property there, that you have rented to students, I think you would have been scary quiet the last couple of months, 6 months. And I think going into next year, it's going to go one of two ways. There's going to be a nice, gentle intake coming back of students, particularly offshore, or we are in for a very cold year in education because they simply didn't start in the February semester.
It's true. I got to say, I love doing this show. I love doing it, the talking, having people like Luke on, Anma always interacting with us, bringing this to everyone. So cool. Just
Me too, man. Me too. And everyone, thanks for the support. And we were going through the numbers, Michael, there. It's staggering, the amount of minutes and views and hours and everything that's consumed from this show. And thank you, everyone, for your support. And look, I guess you know what the makeup of the show is, Michael? We talk to probably, between you and you and I, we probably talk to 100 people in the Northern Beaches in the course of a week. So does Amal, so does Luke, and we can share that IP across a huge network. So it's great, because I think when you look at national news or newspaper news, it's old news. But when you look at what we're talking about, it is literally off the cuff. Rates just came down. We're talking to people 6 hours later, and then we're reporting that back to our community. So, man, it's cool. It is cool, eh?
And I love seeing people implement the stuff we talk about. I do believe we're at that forefront of really changing the industry from that sort of dog eat dog world to everybody working together. And I know Lisa has been at the forefront of that with sharing the social media strategies and everything there. So, and
with agents, we've never really worked. You know, Lisa is all up for helping a local agent or an out of area agent or a national agent. You know, so awesome.
All righty, thanks guys. We're back tomorrow morning.
Take care. Bye bye.